5 scary real Christmas horror stories. This happened about 4 years ago during Christmas break when I was 22. I was home from college for the holidays, helping my parents decorate the house. My dad went all out every year with lights covering the entire front, inflatable snowmen, a massive tree, the whole 9 yards. That Saturday evening, we finished putting up the last decorations outside. It was already getting dark, maybe around 5:30, and the temperature had dropped significantly. As we were packing up the empty boxes, I noticed something across the street. There was a man standing at the edge of our neighbor's yard, just beyond the reach of the streetlight. He was wearing a heavy dark coat and a Santa hat. At first, I figured he was just someone out for a walk, enjoying the neighborhood decorations. But then I realized he wasn't moving. He was just standing there, perfectly still, staring directly at our house. My mom noticed me staring and asked what I was looking at. By the time she looked, the man had turned and started walking away, disappearing down the block. She said it was probably just someone admiring the decorations. My dad agreed, saying people walk through our neighborhood all the time during the holidays. I wanted to believe them, but I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling. Around 11 o'clock, I headed upstairs to bed. My room was on the second floor, and my window faced the front yard. I was scrolling through my phone when I heard something that made me freeze. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate footsteps, crunching through the frost-covered grass outside. I moved to the window and pulled back the curtain just enough to see outside, and my stomach dropped. The man in the Santa hat was back. He was standing in our front yard, maybe 20 feet from the house, staring up at my window. His expression was completely blank. Just this empty, emotionless stare. I stepped back from the window immediately, my heart pounding. After what felt like forever, I worked up the nerve to peek back out. He was gone. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, I told my dad what I'd seen. He listened and tried to reassure me, saying it was probably just some drunk guy who got lost. He promised he'd keep an eye out. That evening, my parents went out to dinner with friends. I stayed home. About an hour after they left, I heard it again. Footsteps. This time they were louder, closer, like someone was walking up the front porch. Then I heard 3 slow, deliberate knocks on the front door. I didn't move. Whoever was out there knocked again, this time a little harder. I grabbed my phone and texted my dad. He said they were on their way home and to call the police if I felt unsafe. I went to the front window and pulled the curtain back just enough to look outside. He was there. The man in the Santa hat. He was standing on the porch, staring out at the street like he was waiting for something. I dialed 911 with shaking hands. The dispatcher told me officers were on their way. I watched as police lights pulled up to the curb. The man turned toward the lights, but didn't run. He just stood there as officers approached and escorted him away from the house. One of the officers came to the door and said the man claimed he was just admiring the decorations and didn't realize he was scaring anyone. They couldn't arrest him since he hadn't technically done anything illegal, but they gave him a warning. The rest of the holiday season was uneventful. We didn't see the man again. But every now and then, when I'm home for Christmas, I find myself glancing out the front window, half expecting to see that Santa hat staring back at me. When I was 19, I worked retail during the holidays. If you've ever worked retail during Christmas, you know how insane it gets. But I actually didn't mind closing shifts. It was quieter after customers left, and I could just zone out and get work done. This particular night, December 23rd, I was scheduled to close alone with a guy named Derek. He'd started working there maybe a month earlier. He was in his mid-30s and kept to himself for the most part. Something about the way he acted made me uncomfortable. He'd stand too close or stare too long without saying anything. By the time 9 hit and we locked the doors, I was completely drained. Derek and I started the closing routine. I was in the back office counting money when Derek called my name. He said he thought he saw someone still in the store, maybe hiding in one of the aisles. I called mall security, and the guard did a full sweep. After about 10 minutes, he came back and said the place was empty. When I came back out to the floor, Derek was standing near the stockroom door, just staring at it. He said he kept hearing noises coming from inside. I told him it was probably just the HVAC system, but he said it sounded like footsteps. I was done. I told him we were leaving. I grabbed my coat and bag, but Derek said he needed to check the stockroom first. I told him absolutely not, that we were leaving right then. He stared at me for a few seconds with this blank expression, then walked toward the exit without saying anything. We left through the back hallway. Derek walked ahead of me, and I kept a good distance. When we got to the parking lot, he asked if I needed a ride home. I lied and said my boyfriend was picking me up. He nodded and walked to his car. The next day, Derek called in sick. He didn't show up the day after that either. A week went by, and he just stopped coming to work. Eventually, corporate marked him as a no-call, no-show and removed him from the schedule. About a month later, one of my co-workers told me something that made my blood run cold. She'd been going through old security footage and found footage from the night I closed with Derek. The timestamp showed Derek going into the stockroom around 8:45, 15 minutes before we closed. He was carrying something and stayed in there for almost 10 minutes. When he came out, he wasn't carrying anything anymore. We never found out what he'd been doing. But sometimes I think about that night, about the way he kept insisting someone was in the store, the way he stared at the stockroom door. I wonder what would have happened if I'd gone in there with him. This happened when I was 16, during winter break. My family lived in this quiet suburban neighborhood in upstate New York. There was one house at the end of our street that always stood out. It was this big old Victorian place, and the guy who lived there, Mr. Carver, was in his 70s and lived alone. Every Christmas, Mr. Carver would go all out with decorations. Lights on every inch of the house, giant inflatables, a life-size nativity scene. That December, I was walking home one evening when I passed by his place. As I walked by, I noticed a figure standing in one of the upstairs windows. It looked like a mannequin dressed as Santa Claus, positioned like it was staring down at the street. A few days later, I passed by again. The Santa mannequin was still in the window, but this time it was in a different position. It was closer to the glass, like someone had moved it forward. Over the next week, I walked by every day just to see if it moved again. And it did. Every single day, it was in a slightly different position, sometimes closer to the window, sometimes angled differently. One night, about a week before Christmas, I heard footsteps outside my window. I looked outside but didn't see anything. Then I noticed the Santa mannequin in Mr. Carver's window was gone. The window was empty, just darkness behind the glass. The next morning, the mannequin was back, facing the street again. My mom ran into Mr. Carver at the grocery store, and he said he liked to move it around to keep things interesting. On Christmas Eve, I was home alone when I heard a knock at the front door. I looked through the peephole. Standing on the porch was someone dressed in a full Santa costume. They weren't moving, weren't saying anything, just standing perfectly still. I called out through the door, asking who it was. No response. The knocking came again, louder this time. I looked through the peephole again, and the person was staring directly at it, like they knew I was looking. I ran upstairs and called my parents. My dad came home immediately and checked outside, but there was no one there. We called the police, who said it was probably just kids playing a prank. The next morning, Christmas Day, my dad noticed footprints in the snow leading from our porch down the street toward Mr. Carver's house. He followed them, and they led right up to Mr. Carver's front porch. We never found out who it was. A few months later, Mr. Carver passed away. When his family cleaned out the house, they found a collection of old Santa costumes in the attic. Dozens of them, all neatly hung up and preserved. Every time I think about that night, I can't help but wonder if it was him. This happened during Christmas of 2019. I was 27, living in a small apartment in Denver. My family lived in Minnesota, and I didn't have the energy or money to fly home. So I decided to spend Christmas alone. On Christmas Eve, I was at the grocery store when I noticed a guy staring at me. He was tall, maybe in his 40s, wearing a heavy coat and a baseball cap. When I looked directly at him, he didn't look away. He just kept staring. A few minutes later in the checkout line, I saw him again. He was still staring, and something about his expression made my stomach turn. That night, I heard a noise outside my window. It sounded like someone scraping something against the glass. When I pulled back the curtain, I nearly screamed. There was a face pressed against the glass, staring at me. It was the man from the grocery store. I called 911 immediately. When police arrived, they searched the area but didn't find anyone. They said someone could have used the fire escape to reach my window. The next morning, Christmas Day, I heard a knock at my door. It was a delivery guy with a package. I hadn't ordered anything. Inside was a small wrapped gift with a note that said, "Merry Christmas. I'll be seeing you soon." I moved out of that apartment a week later. The police never caught the guy. To this day, I will never spend Christmas alone again. This happened just last year, Christmas of 2023. I was living in a small town in Oregon with my husband and our 5-year-old daughter, Emma. We just moved into a new house and went all out with decorations. A few days before Christmas, Emma said she'd seen Santa outside her window. Later that day, I noticed footprints in the snow leading from the back fence to the spot right below Emma's window. The next night, Emma said she saw Santa again, crying and saying he'd been tapping on her window. The following morning, I found more footprints and handprints on the glass. I called the police and installed a security camera. That night, around 2 a.m., the camera sent me an alert. There was a figure in the backyard, dressed in a full Santa costume, staring up at Emma's window. My husband ran outside with a baseball bat. The figure turned and ran. The police searched but didn't find anyone. A few days later, they called to say they'd identified the person. It was a man from a few streets over with a history of mental illness. He'd become obsessed with our house after seeing our decorations. He was arrested, and we got a restraining order. We took down all the outdoor decorations. Emma still has nightmares about it sometimes. So those are my 5 scary, real Christmas horror stories. Have any of you ever experienced something creepy during the holidays? Leave your stories in the comments below. I love reading them. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button for first updates on new video drops. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.